Welcome to Star Trek Theory, where we look at ideas, theories, and speculation in all things Star Trek. Discovery is nearing the conclusion of Season 3, and the latest episode, SuKal, took a really weird and unexpected turn. It seems that a 125-year-old Kelpian child with extreme psychological powers caused the burn. Now, to say that this came out of nowhere is a bit of an understatement, because there really wasn't any clues along the way, and it all seems a bit of a surprise, convoluted plot twist. But having said all that, from another point of view, this actually really feels like old Star Trek storytelling. An innocent child caused the biggest event in history, by accident and unknowingly. So that's a very Star Trek style of story, and I'm actually kind of glad that the secret of the burn didn't turn out to be some big bad guy. And there's a very interesting theory that a few viewers came up with in the comments, which could actually make a lot of sense in the context of the story. What if the child is not just Kelpian, but he's actually half Kelpian and half Ba'ul? We've only really seen the Baul briefly, but the Kelpian and Ba'ul come from the same planet and have been at odds for centuries, with the Kelpians living on the land and the Baul in the oceans. And in the episode, there's a reference to what must have happened in the last 900 years, because even though the Kelpians and Baul were enemies, it seems that they've now joined Starfleet together in a Kelpien-Ba'ul alliance.
What's this?
As the newest member of the United Federation of Planets.
It's the day that Kaminar officially joined the Federation.
This would mean that the Baul could have also been on the Kelpian ship, and a Kelpien-Ba'ul union could definitely be possible because we really only saw his mother, and we haven't seen who the father is. And so one of the first things we realize in the episode is that the entire environment is just a huge holographic program.
You are in the wrong program. Go to history and current events.
The computer sees us as part of the program. That must be why we look like this.
So what if SuKal himself is also being altered, and all is not what it seems? Maybe the hologram is designed not to show him his true self, for fear that it could drive him mad. And perhaps his true form is much more of a half Kelpian, half Baul. And like the Elder says, only when he accepts who he truly is, can he then leave.
So long as he will not face it, he will remain in this place. As will you.
So this clearly means that the monster that's following him is in fact himself. It's not a true version of what he looks like. It's more inspired from the tales of the Baul in the book. But the creature is clearly trying to reach out to him, and it wants him to see him. So if he is a mix of Kelpie and Baul, this might also explain his extraordinary mental powers. Because while we know little about the Baul themselves, it might not be inconsistent to think that they do have mental powers. Because the Baul were originally the prey species on Kaminar, being hunted by the Kelpians themselves in the distant past. But somehow they managed to turn the tables on them, and they flipped the whole situation around, so then the Kelpians became the prey instead.
We go back 2,300 years. There's a significant portion of the Kelpians were like Saru. Blue represents evolved Kelpians, green unevolved red Baul. Sorry, that doesn't look right.
The Baul narrowly escaped extinction. Then they turned around and wiped out the evolved Kelpian.
So could this have been because they developed some kind of strong psychic powers which helped them to overthrow the Kelpians? And if so, perhaps a combination of Kelpian and Baul DNA could produce someone with especially powerful mind powers. There's also the possibility that the Kelpians actually turn into the Baul and they're just a more advanced version of themselves, in which case the child rather could be evolving into a Baul. This could also be a really interesting story twist. If the Baul are actually the Kelpian all along, but they're the evolved versions of them, then maybe for some reason this Kelpian, having been stranded here for 150 years, is just naturally evolving into those Baul, in which case the monster is his Baul side emerging. But either way, the Baul definitely seem to feature heavily, because they're also aquatic creatures and they love water. And the interesting thing here is that the fortress that SuKal resides in is based around the ocean. and there's a surprising number of mentions of water in the episode.
Looks like an ancient step well. A lot of pre-warp civilizations used them for irrigation.
I like that. I liked being in the water. I liked the way it smelled.
So his mother clearly needed to protect him, which is why she set up this holographic program. But growing up alone in this environment could have split his personality, and perhaps the program is visualizing part of that as a monster in his holographic form. It's interesting to note that both SuKal and the monster both seemed to be affected and both looked up when Saru started singing. That's because it's two sides of the same person. And perhaps the combination of being Kelpian and Ba'ul and being born on this Dilithium planet has not only enhanced his psychic powers, but it's also created a huge connection between him and the crystals. So that when he gets emotionally unstable, he affects the Dilithium, which then reverberates throughout the galaxy. And this would mean that the original cause of the burn would have been a hugely emotional moment for him. And clearly this had to be the death of his mother. Because they mentioned that the ship crashed on the planet well before the burn happened.
We're stranded, but we have not lost hope. 6 months ago, we were contacted by Captain Robert Weems of the USS Haragaganai. They were coming to rescue us, expecting to reach us in 2 weeks at maximum warp.
The message is over 100 years old, made sometime after the crash. It has to have been at least a few years before the burn.
The ship crashed on this Dilithium planet. SuKal was born with extraordinary powers and immune to the radiation. The rest of the crew started to die one by one from the radiation, and then, when his mother died, he caused the burn through his connection to the Dilithium and out of his extreme grief. So the only way for him to leave now would be to accept the truth about himself and stop running from the monster and embrace it. Embrace that lineage. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you happy that the cause of the burn is a bit more of a return to classic Star Trek storytelling? I could easily imagine seeing this as a single standalone episode in any of the previous shows, with the crew coming across a planet destroyed by a big cataclysm and finding that the cause is an innocent child. Perhaps in this case it feels a bit different because it has such far-reaching consequences, and with it being a huge galaxy-wide event. We're expecting something bigger to have been the cause, but this really turns that on the head, and in my mind it's a real tribute to the Star Trek stories of old. Personally, I just wish that the plot had been integrated better into the season right from the start, with them peppering more clues throughout, and so it could have resonated a bit better. And really the only thing that we're missing to make it feel like a real classic episode is a moral to the story. So hopefully that'll be expanded upon in the final 2 episodes of the season. But either way, let me know what your thoughts are, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe for more ideas, theories, and speculation videos on all things Star Trek. Thanks for watching, and Trek on!